The first thing that I want to say to you is that you will not be sorry that you registered and went through boot camp with Paul. Paul is astounding. He is fantastic at what he does. He inspires, he motivates, but he is also so dialed in to all of the practical concerns that you're going to need in order to become a coach. I had such a wonderful experience in boot camp. He gives us everything that we need. The whole process is so well structured. There is so much support. Paul gives out an incredible amount, and he really knows his stuff. So if you have even just the slightest inclination that this might be for you, don't wait another second. This is not a paid ad. I swear I'm a real person, not an actor, but you won't be sorry. It is a wonderful experience and you won't regret it.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to Mentor Monday. Mentor Monday is your weekly microdose of encouragement, inspiration, and miracle grow on your potential as a coach. Way to start a little bit late because, well, you know what I did? I was driving around earlier and enjoying my day. Thought, hey, we've got everything together for tonight and everything else. And you know what? I forgot something really important. I forgot my laptop inside of my wife's car, and she had gone the other direction. And then it dawned on me. So, you know what we ended up having to do? Starting a little bit late and all of this hustle. So fortunately, I don't look too sweaty or too crazy or anything, but let's get this going since we're starting a little bit late. Let me say hello to everyone who's saying hello to me. There is Farah. Do me a huge favor, everybody who's on. Like this post, share it. If you've ever joined us on a Mentor Monday, you know I do not give you fluff. I give you stuff that can help you develop as a coach on the skill side, and I also give you stuff that can help you build your coaching practice and a thriving coaching practice at that. And so we're going to be trying to do that. Again, Daniel says it's all divine timing, I suppose, or I'm just a doofus. Probably more likely that I'm a doofus. But anyway, we just have it. The reality is this is the way life is. Sometimes it's messy, and sometimes you just got to figure out stuff. And sometimes you're going to show up 15 minutes late, and a lot of people are counting on you, and sometimes things just happen. Do me a huge favor. Like this post, share it, and let us know that you're here. Tell us where you're joining us from and what you're excited about and you feel life and momentum on. I'm really excited because we've got coaches who are launching coaching products, who are starting their coaching practices. There's a lot that's going on, and we have a boot camp that's coming up, not this weekend, but the following weekend, and I'll speak more about that in just a little bit. But let's jump into what we're talking about today. What are we talking about tonight? Well, we're starting a new series, and the new series is called The Vision-Led Coach. And tonight we're talking about the exponential power of vision. Let me say hello to a couple more people. Brian says, glad you made it. Glad you made it, Brian. Diane, who's joining us from South Carolina. There is Jennifer joining us from Maryland. Just making sure that I say hello to everybody who's saying hello to me. And if you would, jump in there. Let us know that you are here. Like this post and share it. I promise you it's going to be worth your time. This is a new series. We're going to be in this series for about 4 weeks, and it's all about vision. And really what I want to do is I want to set your life on fire in a good way, and I want to set your coaching career on fire, and again, in an encouraging way. A couple more people. Amanda, who's saying hello to us from, it says Cameron Tate. Is that a place, or is it Amanda? I'm not really sure. Sandy's joining us from New Jersey. I can use a new lens, waiting on impending snowstorm. Woo! Oh, no. We finally got rid of rain. Here's the craziest thing. We had rain. We never have rain. And we literally, it's a strange thing. Ever since I moved to California, I've off and on had dreams of tornadoes in California. I was a Southern boy, so we had those there. And what do you know is that there's tornadoes all over the place this past week. including like all of a sudden this crazy wind starts hitting and everything else. And I was like, that was crazy. And so this tornado touched down like on the street over from us. And we're all blessed that nothing was really destroyed except trees, and no one was hurt and their property wasn't damaged. So that was pretty amazing. So let's do this. Let's jump in. Again, what are we talking about? The vision-led coach. Why is it really important to be vision-led? Because, well, honestly, I find a lot of people accidentally do some of the things that they are doing in life. You ever had a conversation with someone, and I can think about conversations that I've had with individuals, and I'll usually start that conversation with, well, tell me your story. And people were like, well, what story? And I was like, well, your story. Well, where do you want me to start? I was like, hey, you can start anywhere that you want, but I want to hear your story. And so a lot of times people will tell their story, and if they tell it in the context of career or whatever, especially if I ask people, they'll tell me what they do for a living or whatever, and I'll say, tell me your story. How did you come into that career? And it's crazy because it's all of this different path and it's all of these different things. And you know what'll end up happening is that I'll find people who end up scratching their head and they're like, this is so weird. Like, I have no idea how I ended up here. I ended up here through obviously a bunch of different decisions and side doors and windows and cracks and different kinds of things. But I find this is true for a lot of people, that they're not really sure how they ended up in the place that they ended up. Now, I don't think that that's a problem if your life is amazing, because sometimes your life's just completely amazing and you almost can't take credit for it because you're like, dude, I made some bad decisions in life. I'm so glad that I didn't get what I was choosing back then. Sometimes there's grace on your life. Sometimes there's absolutely mercy on your life that you made some very bad decisions and it turned out amazing. But here's the thing. If I find people who look at their life and there's a little bit of unrest in them, if there is a little bit of dissatisfaction, if there's something in you that you're kind of like, this is what I want my life to look like. Because a lot of people will say, well, I never pictured my life would look like this. You know what that tells me? It tells me that when they were younger, maybe they were kids, maybe they were a 20-something, and they had a picture of what they thought their life was going to look like. Now, sometimes that can be a good thing because people had, maybe they had a bad upbringing, or they didn't have an ideal picture. You look back and you're like, well, that was really childish or whatever. But a lot of times people have massive dreams. They have massive pictures, and we would say a vision for their life. And a lot of times they're saying, well, my life is not what I pictured it would be like at all. And if your life is still in that place where you'd say, my life does not look like how I always envisioned it to be, pictured it to be, and you feel like there's more that you were supposed to live into, or you're currently, you know what that means? It means that there is more over there. And we need to be able to align our lives so that we can begin to live into that picture of what that life looks like. Let me just say hello to a couple of people. If you are saying hello to me, do that really quick. Jump in the chat. Tell us where you're joining us from, what you're excited about. Also, do me a huge favor. If you haven't already, like this post and share it. That tells people that we are doing a good job, and specifically tells Facebook and YouTube that we're doing a good job. So, having said all of that, let's talk about what vision actually is. So, what is vision? Well, here's what vision is. Vision is the preferred future that is in contrast to the way your life is or the way the world is right now. Because here's what I would say is that the vision of your life, obviously, what that means is that there's a preferred way that you would want to be living your life. And right now, there is a gap between that. There's a contrast between the life that you're living right now and what you would say is a preferred life, a better version of life, an upgraded version of life, or that I would say for most of you who are watching me tonight, you're called to coaching. And since you're called to coaching, since that's in your heart, then we can go as far as to say that your coaching career is supposed to actually alter and change the world because it's changing and altering people's lives. And when people's lives transform, the world transforms as a result of that. So you have a vision of the way that you believe that the world should look as a result of whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing. Now, let me add to that, that definition is that a vision is a clear mental picture of what could be. But it's not just that. It is fueled by the conviction that it must be. So you have a picture of what could be, but there is a conviction in your heart that's saying it must be and it must happen. I'm going to share a quote with you really quick. And it's this quote by Andy Stanley that says, everybody ends up somewhere. A few people end up there on purpose. Most people that you know are where they are in life, not because they were trying to get there on purpose, but because decisions were made for them, or they made decisions, or things kind of came at them. You know, after 2020, there was a lot of people who lost their jobs, some people who got downsized and their job never came back. And I remember meeting one of these individuals, and it was they'd been working in tech and everything else, and they'd been working in tech, and they were working with a private university. And when they got downsized, they called me and they're like, Paul, I don't really know what to do about this. And so we started processing it. And so, you know what I wanted to find out? I wanted to find out how they got there. What were the decisions that brought them to this place? Because what I wanted to do is I wanted to take account of their life, and I wanted them to do an accounting of their life so they could understand what matters to them and what got them to the decision, so we could figure out what's most important and where should they be going. So I'm asking these questions, and then basically what they told me, and I was working for this university, and then they had like a student job. So I started working in this student job in tech there, and then another better student job opened up, and then a help desk job opened up, and then this next thing opened up, and then I got my degree, and then they offered me this. And so basically what this person had done is that they'd never really had to think about making decisions, because where they were at, it just seemed like, well, you know, I just did whatever made sense, and I just walked through whatever door was open to me. So that now, post 2020, when there was not a job there was a major loss, because really what had happened up to then is that, well, they had ended up somewhere, but they didn't end up where they were on purpose. And this was the first time in their life that they were having to really think about meaning and purpose in their life. And listen, this is after an investment in a university where they had been there something like 20 years. And this was the first time they were asking that question. And for each one of you, I want you to know that when you were younger, and I'm sure it's still there, but when you were younger, there was a picture that you had that was a preferred existence. It was the picture of the future. It's what you envisioned. And listen, if your picture of your life right now does not look like what you had always pictured or what you are picturing currently, then there's something that you can do about it. You can absolutely get a vision for things now, and you can do something about it. But let me say this, is that you don't change your life by having simply a picture of the future. There's something different between the people who actually actualize. So the few people who end up there on purpose, there's something different about the people who end up there on purpose from the vast majority of people who just end up somewhere. And what is that? Well, here's another great quote by a great man. Martin Luther King Jr. said this. He says, I have a dream that one day, this is out of the Dream speech, one of the most famous speeches probably of all time and in humanity, was Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech. And what he did that day is he talks about a dream, but he used the word dream, but honestly, it was more than a dream. He shared a vision. And it was a vision that was actually very real for him. I think that when he wrote the speech, that he had moments where he closed his eyes and he said, this is where we are right now. And it's not okay where we are. It is not okay that we have a the law of the land or the branding of this company, of this country, or in the historical documents of this country that says that everyone is equal, but that's not actually how we live. What if we actually lived into the ideal that was etched in the very beginnings of this country? But no one had ever seen it before. And so I really believe that Martin Luther King Jr. closed his eyes and he would go to moments and he could picture what it would truly look like if everyone was treated equally. And so he started to paint this picture because I believe that people who live a life of purpose, on purpose, kind of purpose, on purpose with their vision, people who are truly visionary are able to close their eyes and they're able to see and experience life in that preferred existence. And you know what they do? They bring that reality into our reality. That's what's different between those people. Now, I think that people could actually learn from visionaries to start bringing that reality into our lives as well, to actually follow what they do and what makes them so radically different. Martin Luther King Jr. was a radically different person, because not only did he see something, I would dare to say that in many of his speeches, his probably most famous speech being the dream speech, that he said things that he wanted to see and that he had a vision for that probably most of those people who are in the room did not believe at first because they had not seen it. Here's what I believe. I believe that some 50 years later, that we go from segregation to an African American man in the White House. I believe this led to that. A vision of many of the images that he gave. I have a dream that one day black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I don't care what anybody thinks about politics or any of that other kind of nonsense and everything else. I believe that he saw it, and even though he didn't see it in his lifetime, we lived it because he desired to see it. I'm not saying that we have everything figured out in the world. We definitely are imperfect and all of those other kinds of things, but you have to admit, how do we go from segregation to an African American in the White House in less than one generation? And it's because of visionaries, but not just visionaries, not just dreamers, because he wasn't simply a dreamer. What was the difference? Well, here's the difference. Is it because people with vision aren't just simply dreamers, they are able to see something that other people can't see. He is a person who's able to see something that maybe not everybody else sees it. It doesn't matter that everybody else can't see it because he saw it a generation before anybody else could see it. But he didn't just dream it. There was something that took place. Here's the thing that took place is that I was saying a while ago that you can't just dream it, that there is a conviction that comes with it. They are convicted inside their personal beliefs, and it usually has moral implications. And so for him, it wasn't just simply, oh, I've got a vision board and I want this car and I want this house or whatever. No, I believe that there was moral implications. We could all agree there's moral implications, that there's something that rises up in the visionaries that say this is not okay and something has to be done about it. It's that there's a conviction that takes place in your heart, and it drives you to action and it drives you to do things. And in Martin Luther King Jr.'s life, it drove him to endure suffering and difficulty and everything else because he knew what he had seen. And for him, it was worth it to endure what he needed to endure to see it through. Here's the third thing, is that people with vision aren't just dreamers. They have convinced themselves about what they see. And they have convinced themselves, they are fully persuaded that this has to happen. Last thing is this, is that they are committed to giving their lives to it. I would dare say that most of us in our life in our lives, most of the people who are going to be hearing my voice probably do not have as big of a dream, as much of an ambition, as much of a conviction, as much of a moral implication as Martin Luther King Jr. had. To suffer, to literally be jailed, to go through all of the things, threats, all of those other kinds of things. And what's the greatest threat? Like literally, I hope his life takes our excuses away, because he did that under threat. What's the worst thing that could happen to us for the dreams and ambitions in our life? Like, he's paved the way for so many people and taken excuses away from people like me to say, what's the worst thing that could happen? Somebody says no to your coaching practice. Oh, somebody doesn't like your Instagram post and they don't respond to it. It takes you a month or two longer or 3 months longer to get your coaching practice up. Some people don't believe in what you're going for. I mean, really, seriously, it's a life that should convict us that we need to have a vision that's bigger than what we're living right now, and quit accidentally having these happy little accidents that show up in our life. But if we could take hold of what our purpose is and actually lean in and live into it. So how do we begin to do that? Well, vision itself has exponential power. And here's what it does for us. First of all, it gives significance to our present. How does it give significance to our present? Because when you have vision, everything that you do in your life suddenly has purpose. I hear parents every now and then complain because, well, their kids get to a certain age and they're not old enough to drive, but they've got a life going on. And I'll hear parents complain, all I am is an Uber for my kids. All they need me for is to drive them here, drive them to practice over here, drive them to school over here, drive them over to their friend's house over here. I'll be so glad when they get old enough and they can, and it's like what? This is a life that is insignificant if you can't see that what you're doing right now has any partnership with the purpose of the child who is in your life. People who complain about all I do is take care of kids, clean house, and change diapers. That's a person without purpose. That is a miserable life if that's the way that you look at it. As a dad, I believe that compared to most dads out there, I've changed more diapers than most dads that I know. Doesn't rival a mom, I know that, but I never had a problem with it. Not that I liked it. Bear in mind, I didn't like it, but I never had a problem with it. Because what I understood is that the pain had a purpose. The poop diapers serve a purpose. Because this person who's in front of me is not fully manifested, and they're not even close to what they will be. But in this moment, the best thing that I could do is to show up for them in a life and surround them with love and to surround them with security so that one day they will never, ever doubt who they are or have the confidence to go after. See, at a very young age, that's what I understood. Even when my kids were in my wife's belly and I would talk to them and I'd say, you're going to change the world. You're loved. You're beautiful. All of these things that I've always tried to surround my kids. Not that I've done it all perfectly, but understanding that everything that we do is to a greater purpose. And you know what ends up happening is that life can't help but to be significant when you understand that the things that you are doing and partnering with have a greater purpose. And you know what happens is that it allows the pain, it gives the pain a purpose. It makes it significant, because the reason why people feel so insignificant in their life is they really don't know how, in the choices that they make every day, that it's leading to something greater. Now, I can look at my children now, and I can say that, like many of you, it was all worth it. But when you're in the middle of it, and when you're in the middle of the crap and it's thick and it's up to your knees, you got to be reminded of what you're here for and what the vision is for. Some of you who are going to be called into great things are going to have to deal with adversity. You're going to have to confront your self-doubt. You're going to have to do things that you don't like doing sometimes. And you know what's going to actually make your life more significant and keep you in the game is that you have a vision of what that future is going to look like, and it makes you rise up and show up in a different way every day. Here's the next thing. Vision has exponential power because it creates motivation. How does it produce motivation? It produces motivation because suddenly you are taking control. Suddenly you are motivated because what you know you are doing matters. You're not allowing life to make choices for you and then you just show up somewhere. You have determined what due north is going to be, and you are going to take the steps towards those things in terms of due north. Let me give you an old Bible quote that many of you probably are very familiar with. And the Old English version of this says this: where there is no vision, the people cast off restraint. Well, what does that even mean? Well, here's what it means. I'll show you on a nice little whiteboard here. I'll help you understand what it means. Let's imagine this is you in life on this little boat here. And what happens presumably when you're on the boat? Well, when you're on the boat, well, presumably, what do we have going on here? Well, we've got water, right? And we got something else happening at times as well, is that we've got wind. We got wind blowing in at the boat and everything else. Well, what happens is that when the wind hits these sails, you know what ends up happening is that you start to drift and you're at the mercy of the wind. This is what I think most people are doing in their life, because they have not chartered due north. They have not decided on where they wanted to go. Now the wind seems to move them back and forth, and they're moved by everything that happens in life because they have not determined where they want to go. Now every wind and everything that kicks up, that brings in self-doubt and everything else, people are in and they're out. They're a roller coaster in their emotions, all kinds of things like that. Here's what vision does for you. Vision acts as a restraint. It literally anchors you. So when the wind blows, you know what happens on a good anchor? You might go this way, you might go that way, you might go back and forth a little bit. But you know what? You know where you're headed. You know what you're called to. You know what's significant. You know what matters. And you can let the wind come, and it might blow you a little bit, but it doesn't blow you off course because you know where you're headed. Difficulty, disappointment, frustration, surprises in life that you didn't think were going to happen might have a temporary blowback, but it's not going to take you away from what you really believe the purpose is, because you are restrained, you are convicted, you are locked in. Now, having said that, what we really have to have is a picture of what that life is supposed to look like. And this is what I would say is going to be all of your homework, even tonight. We do use this old tool and as coaches called the Wheel of Life. And really what I always say, I'll usually start with kind of a question, is that what areas of your life are most important? But sometimes people will label it. And so you might have, my spouse, my children, you might say job, you might say money, you might say health, you might say your purpose, you might say spirituality. I don't know, all of these different things. Well, how we get a vision for life is really quite simple. Is that when you know what that vision for you and your spouse, what the vision for your children is supposed to look like, the vision for your spirituality, because I understand that we are multidimensional kinds of people. The vision for your career, the vision for your coaching practice, when you know what that is and you are convicted by that, when you can see it, when you can experience it and everything else, then it's really easy to look in your life and to be able to say, well, here's where I am in relation to what I believe is that ideal of 10 or whatever. But see, I don't think that most of us have thought so much about it because, if you know what that picture looks like, then today's pain and difficulty has a purpose. It means that when I have known and I have set that as due north and I have locked in conviction and I have committed myself and it has become a moral imperative in my life, now it's the vision is what it is. I have determined due north and this is where I'm going to head. So I can incur blowbacks and and I can stay connected to the vision. I can stay motivated to what I need to do today. I can stay committed to those things and I can stay encouraged because even if it was a difficult day, I know where I am in relation to the vision because the vision's always waking me up at night. It's like a child at night that, what it does is, like when a mother is pregnant, you're initially excited and you're like, oh, a pregnancy test. I remember when my wife gave me the pregnancy test for my birthday for Shiloh, our youngest. And she goes, here, open this bag. And I open it up and I was never so happy to have something that had been peed on and given to me. And I'm like, oh, I knew it. I knew you were going to have a baby or whatever, and so we're excited. You're initially excited. And you know what happens as the days and months progress is that, well, the body changes happen. And then, now you got hot flashes. And now you can't get cool enough. Now you can't get hot enough. Now things don't fit. Now there's things happening inside your body. There's cravings. There's tears. Why am I crying? Why am I laughing? Why am I crying and I'm laughing? And then you have to get weird pillows and you have to sleep in different things. And there's all of this stuff. Now I don't even want to go out of the house. So I understood all of those things as being the husband, vicariously walking alongside my wife and understanding all these things. But you know what you do the entire time? You don't say, oh, our life's falling apart because you're sweating and you don't want to be and your clothes don't fit anymore. You know what you do? Is that you open up a baby book and you're like, how far along are we right now? And I look at the picture and you're like, the baby's the size of a grape. The baby's the size of an orange. The baby this, the baby that. You know what you do? You name the baby. You start buying cribs. You start decorating the room. You do all of those things because we understand that these are normal occurrences and processes that lead you to having a baby. And the baby is the vision, and the picture allows you to partner, stay motivated, stay encouraged, do everything that you need to do because you're having a baby. And this is what vision does to us. See, vision has exponential power because what it'll ultimately do is it will empower you to say no to the things that you are not supposed to be doing. It's going to give you focus and direction, and there's going to be no more drifting because now you are anchored. And it's also going to make you stop taking your life so lightly. Vision's going to cause you to be more productive. And here's the thing that I see from people who are truly visionary is that people who are visionary get more things done, and people who are visionary also get bigger things done than the people who do not have vision. What I'm hoping at the end of this thing is that not only are you re-engaged with your purpose, not only are you excited, not only do you find momentum and all of those other kinds of things, I hope that the people in the next few weeks who are listening to me and going through this process, I hope at the end you get bigger things done and you accomplish more and you set a bigger calling and purpose for your life than what you're living into right now. For some of you, what that's going to do is, well, you got to start. You're listening to me, you probably have been thinking about getting trained and certified as a coach for many years. You've been Googling it and everything else. Listen, if you've Googled getting coach, becoming a coach more than 2 times, you're in a place of procrastination and you need to do something about it. Now, Life Coach Training Institute, We are not just a training school. I know we got training in the name. We're not just that. That's where most schools start and end. They don't have an ambition past that. If you go on most coach training websites, it's a lot of convoluted processes and a lot of stuff. And for most of you, you know, when you went to school, it didn't prepare you for the real world. It did not help you get started. It did not actually put money in your pocket. And some of you are probably wondering, like, why did I get this degree and I never used it? Why did I go through this certificate program and never use it? We're going to make sure that you don't do that. Here's what I understand. When I finished coach training school, I had no idea how to get a client. We're trying to deal with that total issue because I don't want you buried under debt. It's why we've chosen to be a school that is affordable, because I'm not going to shortchange you on your education and your training, but I'm also not going to give you a certificate that makes you think that, oh, I got the certificate now and now the door's being beaten down and all these people. No, there's a process and there's steps, right? There's a vision you've got to have for that, and you got to be consistent in it. So our Jumpstart program is the best thing that I can say is the most affordable option that we have been helping thousands of coaches over the years not only get trained and certified, but start their coaching practices. And it's only $97 a month with a 3-month minimum commitment. Not a big deal when most certification programs are between $4,000 to $12,000. Now, for those of you who have not gotten trained and certified, there's a couple of different options. One is going to be this boot camp option that is not this weekend, but it's the following weekend. It's a weekend of February 23rd through the 25th. If you join Jumpstart for $97 a month, you're already registered in this. What are we going to be covering over that weekend? Well, what we're going to be covering that weekend is 7 powerful sessions. It's the exact same content that we give you in the Life Coach Certification course, but we do it over the course of a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Foundations of coaching, the anatomy of a dynamic coaching session, how to help your clients get extraordinary results, how to listen on a transformational level, how to ask powerful questions, how to establish a growing coaching practice. There are live coaching demos as a part of the weekend so that you can observe, you can coach, you can be coached, and there's live Q&As at the end of every one of those sessions. I make sure that there's a lot of bonus content and we answer every one of the questions that you'll have over the course of the weekend. What's all included? Well, you get the 7 sessions with live Q&As and role playing. You get coaching tools, question samples, coaching agreement, and intake samples. We add to that a welcome pack that is completely brandable. We also give you a coaching tools starter kit, 5 powerful tools that can help people get transformation quick. You also earn your life coach certification. Yes, you get a certificate. You also get replays and handouts. You will also get invited to Tuesday night live training, and you get free audits for life. The cost for a boot camp is only $247. Now, one of 2 different things that you can do. If you don't think that you need any business development help, this is the way to go. We also have a $47 a month payment plan if you want to do that. You can click the link inside the description of this video and enroll in whatever you want. Best deal, though, because I believe that you should get the business development help, is our Jumpstart program, because you get trained and certified, and we also give you a business development roadmap. We give you the A to Z, start from nothing, brainstorming, all the way to launching coaching products. We have 6 total courses. The coaching product blueprint, we have a branding course. We walk you through all of the steps so that you don't have to figure out how to do it on your own. And we have an amazing group of brilliant people who support one another. And so you'll have access to all of those people. You'll be turning in assignments alongside those people. You'll also have those people that you get to engage with on Tuesday night training, but you have the Jumpstart people who they're going to be some of your best friends for your entire life. And they're in the trenches with you and will keep you encouraged and hold you accountable as you're taking steps forward. Again, this is the best deal in the entire industry. I know, because I was one of those coaches who spent thousands of dollars years ago, before it got as expensive as now, and didn't know how to get a client. And what we will allow you to do is not only get the skills and the competency that you need to be a great coach, but we're going to show you how to acquire clients. And that's the best gift that I believe that we can give you. And again, it's not going to put you in debt for the rest of your life. Anybody have any questions and would like to say hello? I'd love to say hello to you. There's Lee, who's joining us from Florida. Good to see you. Listen, I appreciate you guys all immensely. Thanks for joining me tonight. A new cohort of the Life Coach Certification course starts tomorrow. So it's a great time to get enrolled. We'll be in session 1 of the Life Coach Certification course on Tuesdays. Best deal, enroll and jumpstart because you get access to everything. Self-paced course, the Tuesday night training, as well as boot camp. That's the best way to go, as well as being enrolled in all of the other courses. If you're just wanting to get trained and certified, hey, join us for boot camp. That's an amazing way to get started. Knock out all your training in one weekend and get that certification over with. And let's get busy. We're just trying to give you the vehicle to help you accomplish what you're here on the planet to do. And we're honored to be able to walk alongside you. Listen, we're not just some internet school where you just print a certificate. We're very high touch. We're very engaged, and we know what we're doing. We've been really successful as coaches and building businesses, but we've also been very successful walking alongside coaches who maybe don't know where to start and have a lot of self-doubt. And we help you eliminate that self-doubt and, more importantly, get started. So listen, I appreciate you guys all immensely. Have a great rest of your week and take care. How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Mentor Monday. Mentor Monday is your weekly microdose of encouragement, inspiration, and miracle grow on your potential as a coach. As we're beginning, just a huge favor. You see that right there below the bottom. Let us know where you're joining us from. Let us know that you're here. Tell us where you're joining us from. Maybe one thing that you're excited about that you feel life and momentum on. What we love to do on these, if you've never joined us for a Mentor Monday, is to impart, encourage you, and give you some practical tools to help you as you are venturing out and starting your own coaching practice, starting new chapters in your life, and all of those things. We want to give you practical tools, and we also want to give you great inspiration to help you move forward. So just a huge favor, jump in right here and tell us where you are joining us from and say hello to us, because we're not interested in just simply being talking heads. I'm going to grab my little clicker because I'm going to need it a lot today, actually, with some of the things that we're going to be sharing with you. I'm going to pause just for a second, just because I know that I'm at least 30 seconds ahead of you so that you can say hello. There is Joan joining us from Bakersfield, California. Welcome, Joan. So excited for another Mentor Monday. And I am too. I actually think that tonight is going to be better than all 3 of the weeks so far in this series called The Vision-Led Coach. And I've gotten a lot of great feedback about it over the last couple of weeks. And so I'm excited about continuing that. And along the way, before I even get started and do anything, let me say this to all of the moms who celebrated your amazingness this weekend. It's not enough to celebrate you just one day. I want to say thank you to all of the moms who are out there that are watching, whether it be in this present moment or in the future. Every day of your life should be Mom's Day, because you literally make the world go round in about every way possible. I was raised by an incredibly loving, powerful woman named Barbara, and my wife, I also married what I feel like was the other incredible, most powerful woman that I've ever met in my life, which was my wife, Jessica. And so I love you both. And for any of you who are watching, I just want to thank you for being moms, doing everything that you do, and literally filling the planet, holding the planet together, giving us hope for the future and our children, and all of those other kinds of things. Everything that you guys bring to the table in every kind of way. I would be lost without my mom. I would be completely lost again if I didn't have my wife and her being the other half of me, like literally, like this is a partnership, right? An equal partner in my life, in my ambitions, helping me in those kinds of ways, while at the same time being who she really is for my children. And I have 3 women that we're raising up to be powerful women in the world. And so I'm thankful for all of the models of all of that we've had around in our life, and definitely directly influencing their genes, literally, which is amazing. There's Monica joining us from Highland, New York. Looking forward to Vision Part 3. Thank you. Harvey's joining us from South Florida. Just set up an appointment to discuss writing articles for a sales professional association. Cool. Selah joining us from Los Angeles and first time watching. Oh, wait. Yeah, it is Salem. Christopher, who's joining us from Augusta, Georgia. So anybody else that would like to say hello to us, we welcome you. And we're excited. And hopefully that last email actually went out to tell everybody that we were getting ready to go live. You never can tell. Sometimes those things kind of get stuck along the way. So what have we been talking about for the last couple of weeks? Well, last couple of weeks, we've been in this series called the Vision-Led Coach. And in the first couple of weeks, we talked about the exponential power of vision and actually how you really begin thinking about vision. And let me give you another really quick definition, our working definition for this series of vision, which is a picture of the future, which could be, should be, and must be. You can understand that all of us can have a dream, a picture of the future that could happen, but not all of us have moved into this realm of something should happen and it must happen. And when we say that it should happen and it must happen, then what we're really talking about is that we're participating with the vision, that picture that we see. And last week we talked into some detail about how you initiate that, but where do you really start? And let me say hello to a couple more people really quickly. There's Lynn joining us from Vermont. Hey, Lynn. And there's Tara joining us from Vegas. Welcome, Tara. And Simply Tamara from Central Florida. Awesome. And so this week, really what happened is I started working on today. And what I really believe is that this actually has to be split up into two, because there were two really important components that I really believe that I couldn't cover in one session. So what we'll do is that we'll finish it next week, but you're not going to feel like you're missing anything except that because you're going to have your work cut out for you today. When it comes to living into a vision, really it begins with you. It starts the change because we're wanting to see change in and around our life. Because what we really understand with vision is that vision means that right now my life does not look like it should. The world does not look like it should look right now. It has the potential of looking that way, but right now we're caught in the tension. We're kind of like in this hallway between both of these realms, and there's a tension. And the more that you can get in touch with a tension, the greater degree of the possibility that you're actually going to do something about it. You need to feel that tension. But a big part of this tension and actually living into this vision to actually operate, to move towards it, to do the things that we need to do to make it come into reality is going to require something of us. And it's going to require us showing up in life in a different way. That's why actually before our vision can happen, see, there's a reason why the vision hasn't already happened. And honestly, there's a main character in the role of vision. We haven't put two and two together. The main character in the role of vision is actually us, because it's our vision. And if it's going to happen, then it's going to actually have to happen through us, the way that we envision and the intentionality that we have in our life to move towards it. So before the world can change, like I want the world to change, but really before any of those things change and we come into that picture, before we change the picture means that we have to change. But I'm going to share a couple of statistics with you that probably you maybe have never heard before. And that first one is really this, is that less than 5% of people are actually living into vision, that they actually have a vision and that they are actually living purposefully towards that vision. Because it's really important for us to understand something here. Vast majority of people do not have a vision, and if they do, they're not living into it. And there's a big reason why, and it's because of what's going on inside here. Because if there's going to be external change always follows internal change. It means that something has to happen to us. But the reality is that most people walking the planet, sucking up air, consuming resources and everything else, get the same or the similar results every year of their life. Now, it doesn't mean that they don't have some small changes that are happening. It doesn't mean that no one is changing at all, because I do believe human beings change. We can probably all think about certain views and opinions and different things that we have in our life. But can we look in our life and see something that drastically shifted our perspective and moved us towards the way that we envisioned our life? Most people would have to admit that if they've had a climb in their life, that it may only be like 3 to 5 to 6 to 10 to maybe 15 or 20 degrees. And if we go back in life, if we go back to a younger version of ourselves, maybe that 18-year-old version, maybe that college version, that 20-something version, at what percentage do you think that incline has actually taken place in your life? How much have you, when it comes to the big picture in your life, what you dreamed of, what you really thought that your life would actually look like, what percentage towards that have you moved? And for some of us, we might be able to see at least qualitatively, maybe quantitatively in our life, some changes, but is it a drastic change? And I would argue that the vast majority of people don't see a significant change in their life. They just kind of see small progressive changes over their life. The other thing is that people aren't typically experiencing substantial change in their life. So they see maybe something that looks a little bit more towards that picture, but like internally, them as a person, they don't really change a ton. And so the reality is that if external change follows internal change, then what we'd have to say is that the reason why we're not seeing the world like we want it to be, what we hope to see, is because maybe we haven't caught up with our own transformation, and maybe we haven't been intentional enough. Because as I said, less than 5% of people are living a vision-led life. We're going to do a really quick test, and I don't want you to think this is a setup, but this is a really good test of whether or not you're living a vision-led life. And I'm just going to ask you like 3 questions, and I don't want you to put it in the comments because this is a no shame zone, okay? All right, so here's the 3 questions. Here's question number 1. Have you written out a life plan? And if you have, what is it? Have you written out that plan of your life? Right now, at whatever age that you're at, if we could fast forward and see your life at like age 80, age 90, now you got grandkids and all those other things. Have you already written out what that plan is? What does that picture look like? Have you already written that out and thought about it in express detail? And where can you track? Because if I said, have you written it out? If so, what is it? And where are you tracking? Are you on track exactly with what you believe that picture is? And I'd say that almost no one that I've ever met in my life can say, yes, I've written out a life plan. Well, if you haven't written out a life plan, we'll go a little bit easier. If you haven't written a life plan, have you written out a 10-year plan? And if so, what is that 10-year plan look like? In explicit detail, what does that vision look like? And what does that plan, what does that picture actually look like? And where are you tracking on your 10-year plan? I've met one person in my life that had a 10-year plan. One person. In all these years of living and coaching, I've met one person who had a 10-year plan in their life. Now, we'll go a little bit easier. If you haven't done a 10-year plan, have you written out a 1-year plan? And if so, what is it? And where are you tracking with regard to that? Now, again, I'm telling you, this is not a setup at all, and I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad. What I am saying is it's pretty much 100% if we can't answer any of these things in the affirmative that we're not really vision led. We don't really have a picture of what that future looks like. And it's actually causing us a lot of pain and heartache and a lot of problems. I'm going to remind you of a quote that I said a couple of weeks ago, which is this one by Andy Stanley, where he says, everybody ends up somewhere in life, and a few people end up somewhere on purpose. What I want you to understand is that as I'm saying these things, when I say 10-year plan, when I say a 5-year plan, and I'm saying a 1-year plan, I'm not talking about activities and goals. So if any of you said, oh, I've got a 1-year plan and I've got my goals, well, you misunderstood the assignment. So I'm correcting it right now. And hopefully nobody's filling things in the chat or whatever. But I don't want to upset anybody. But if you have a 5 or a 10-year plan or a 1-year plan and it's goal-based, that is not a vision. Goals and visions are not the same. Activities and visions are not the same. Because a vision is not the same as setting a goal, because you can actually accomplish a goal and not really have a vision. What do you mean by that? Well, let's think about this. I'm gonna help you use your noggin on this and picture this. How you like that? How many of you know someone that you were in high school with, and all they talked about was, one day I'm going to be rich. One day I'm going to make $1 million or whatever. And by gosh, as you got older, you've met that person and they have done exactly what they said that they were going to do back when you were in high school. And you always knew. They probably wrote it in the high school yearbook, most likely to be a millionaire or something like that. But you meet them now, and I give my age away because I'm happy to tell people that I'll turn 48 years old. Some of you are a little bit older and younger. But let's fast forward and we see these people. Maybe they live in our community. Maybe we just see them on Facebook. And you're like, they did exactly what they said they were going to do. But they look like they aged 30 years. They look like their hair fell out prematurely, and not just because it was a natural genetic occurrence. They have major health issues that are going on in their life. Their relationship with their kids is non-existent. Their relationship with their spouse is non-existent. They've been through multiple marriages. Some of these people, and we can kind of think about it. Let's think about whether it was somebody who had a dream to be famous, and then they got caught up into all kinds of legal trouble after they got all the money and the fame that they thought that they would get. Or they did some kind of domestic violence thing, or like we're surprised when we hear these things. We also hear some of these athletes, some of these super athletes who get multi-million-dollar contracts. They're making tens of millions of dollars every year. They turn 30, they go into retirement, and then they're broke within 5 years. Like this is a major statistic. Within 5 years, the average professional athlete who's made millions of dollars goes completely broke. And now they've got legal troubles, and they usually, with legal troubles, ends up coming family troubles and sometimes a lot of other things that kind of come along with that. Here's what I can say about all of those people and everything that I was just describing. Goals and activities are not the same as vision. What do I mean? What do I mean by that? What I'm really saying in this is that you've got people that are possessed by goals in many cases, and even the way to get there. Many people achieve their goal and they achieve their dream, but the picture of their life afterward is not anything like what they thought it would look like. They didn't have this picture at all. I guarantee you, the 30-somethings that have lost all of their tens of millions of dollars as a professional athlete, and they have broken marriages, and they don't have a home anymore, and everything's kind of legally like bound up and everything. I guarantee you, when they were a teenager, they were not picturing their life finishing up like this. They didn't. That picture that they had in their mind with the goal thought that everything would take care of itself. But that's a person who had a dream and a goal, and they had an ambition and they worked on it, but they didn't actually have a vision. Imagine if they would have had a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, a life plan, a true vision. What does that look like? Because it's all encompassing. You know why? Because your goal is not the same as a vision, because a vision actually takes into account what your relationships look like when you become an adult. It takes into account what your relationship with your spouse is going to look like when you're in your 50s. It takes into account what your relationship with your children are going to be from the time that they are 1 till they are 71. A vision does those kinds of things. A vision prepares for a future that is going to involve your grandkids and their grandkids. That's what a vision actually looks like. And even though people have achieved massive things, sometimes given things away, most people actually, if they don't get lost in achieving their goal, they get lost in the activities that are involved in achieving that goal. Like what do I mean by that? Well, the activity of parenting. That's what a lot of people get stuck in. People get stuck in the activity of marriage, the things that you've got to do. They get lost in the activity of paying bills. They get lost in the activity of keeping up. Sometimes people get lost in just the everyday activity of upkeeping your body with regard to like, what are you working out? Are you exercising? Are you feeding yourself? Are you showering? Are you relieving yourself in the bathroom? And how's that going? I know that sounds terrible. I'm just making sure that you're not asleep. But the reality is that people get caught up in activity all the time. The activity of making money, the activities of it's required to do the things that you are doing. Now, here's the thing that I'd say about that is that a lot of times you get lost in goals and activities. And you know why people get lost in their goals and their activities? Because they don't have a why. When you don't know your why, when you lose your why, you don't realize is that it's your why that actually aligned you and made you normal and where you're at. So that what ends up happening is that why most people are unsatisfied in their lives is that they don't know what's most important, which is their why. So they're out of alignment and they simply do activities and maybe accomplish a goal or two along the way, but they don't actually fulfill their purpose. See, this is the important thing for us to understand. It's the reason why people end up in dead-end careers, dead-end jobs, dead-end relationships, everything else, because they don't really live for a vision. It's why people sometimes get so stuck in making money that they feel like they can't actually stop doing the activities that they're doing because they're going to lose what little thing they have right now. Like, what keeps people working in a dead-end job and a dead-end career? What that activity, it's like they feel like they've worked themselves into a hole and now they can't say no to the thing that they're doing. They do the same thing with relationships. They do the same thing with anything that is unsatisfied in their life. They can't stop the activity because they feel like they'll lose what little thing that they have left in their life. This is a person who has no vision. This is a person who has lost hope, or they've lost a semblance of what that picture could actually look like, and don't realize that they are the biggest character. They are the main character in their story, and they don't know what to do about it. I don't know if this is striking a nerve with any of you. And I hope that it's not offensive in any kind of way, because what I want you to really get and understand out of this is that if you really can get latched onto your why, if you can paint the picture, if you can get clear about the picture, and if I have your commitment to actually doing something about this, that you know that you're the biggest character in your story, not the job that you're working, not paying the bills, not the tax person, not government, not anybody else, that I understand that I am the biggest contributor to my story. I am the main character. I've been given the pen in my life, and I am not abdicating responsibility for fulfilling the vision in my life. If you can really grasp that and grab a hold of it and get aligned with what your vision is, you can actually live into what it is. You can get aligned into your why. Because what happens is that when you lose your why, you know what you do? You keep doing what you're doing, even if it doesn't fulfill your purpose. And this is what a lot of us get stuck doing. We lose our why. You would not believe the countless people over the last 20 years that I have talked to, people who have succeeded and done great things. You're looking at them and you're like, they got everything. They got the car. Like, I've literally had people, saw them drive up in their fancy convertible with the top down, sit down in front of me, distraught, and they said, I don't even know what my why is, Paul. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Could you please give me some purpose in my life? Help me find purpose in my life. Can you imagine giving that much? Like, I've watched it, the stories that I have with people who are nearing retirement age that have bank accounts and success and everything else and pensions. And we're talking about people who have done significant things that have sat across from me and said, I need to find my why again. Like, it has no point. It has no meaning. It has nothing. These are people who even as they were going along the way, didn't realize that what they were doing, the activities that they were doing, didn't actually fulfill a purpose, but they kept doing them. See, what we understand is that when you do know your why, you know what you get permission to do? You start actually taking control of your life again, because you can freely stop or change activities that aren't helping you accomplish your vision. Hey, psst, psst, this is for those of you who are stuck in a dead-end job and a career, and you keep acting like you can't stop doing what you're doing because now something else is going to fall apart. Hey, guess what? If you know your why, you can quit that job. If you know what your real why, what that picture is, you can stop some of the things that you're doing. You can quit putting your vision as a side project over here, because that's where it lives for most people. It's a side project, it's a dream, but honestly, it's not truly a vision until we take ownership over it and we're doing something about it. You know, if you don't, when you don't have vision that is aligned with your why, because a vision is actually influenced by the why. What am I talking about? Your why. Why do you do anything that you do? What the critical why behind your vision makes everything in alignment, and it makes your goals and it makes your activities make a lot of sense. Here's how vision actually aligns you. Let me show you a picture of this. So if this is a line and this is what alignment is, your vision that's actually based on your why is the first place. See, that most people don't start with why. You know where they start? They start with, I need to get out and make money. I need to make money. I need to do this. I need to hustle. I need to get this thing out of the way. They're not really on the why. They're on the activity of making money. Or sometimes they're like, and they have like short-term little things, short-term little fixes. Like, I need to get another vehicle. I need to get a bigger house. I need to get whatever. I need to be able to accommodate certain things. So they don't actually go after vision. They go after short-term goals as their priority, or they go after activities. How many of us, and I'm not saying it's a wrong thing, I'm saying that one of the things that was important is that we wanted to take care of our families better, or we wanted to do something. And then we ended up not having a long-term vision for our family. And we took a job that sucked, took a job that paid pretty well, but we hated our life every day. Or it took all of our joy away. Or listen to this. The person who goes out and works their butt off at work comes home and they got nothing left for their kids. And they feel terrible because their primary value, if you really ask them what was most important, is that dad is involved in their kid's life, is that mom is involved in their kid's life, but they sacrificed that picture for whatever else was also a good thing. See, these are people. What ends up happening is that when you're aligned and you're doing activities, you may never achieve your vision. When you're just doing goals, you might again get to accomplishing some things. You might visibly have some improvements and increases in your life, but it's never going to look like the life that you really believe that it should look. What did we say? In the wheel of life, maybe that area is your health. Maybe that area is your finances. Maybe that area is your children. Maybe that is your marriage. Maybe it is whatever your greater purpose on the planet, what you're here to actually do, how you're here to change the world. See, all of those things have to be in balance. Like, we have to fully live, but we need to know what our why is behind that and live into it. Because when you have your why in order, your why does something for you. Your why actually begins to inform and lead to goals. See, your goals aren't what leads you. Your vision is what leads you. And your vision is all about why, because your why are the things that are most important to you. But see, the other thing that happens as well is that once you have goals, you know what ends up happening is that your goals flow as well. Your goals lead to actions in your life. So do you see how the alignment actually works? Is that when you work on yourself and you know what's most important, what your why is. Most people don't start there because most people don't know their why. Most people don't know what's most important to them. But when you do, then you know what? It simplifies everything. You know what? I'm not going to do actions that take me out of alignment with my vision. I'm not going to keep doing actions as well that don't help me get to my vision. I'm not going to keep setting goals that unless they are fully aligned with my vision. So I understand that to be vision led means that I start with why. And here's the thing is that your work that you did last week can actually be very helpful. Is that the stuff that could be, should be, must be are all attached to a why. There's something that's really deeply important to you. And if you don't know what it is, then you need to actually do the work, because you know what ends up happening is that actually after you do the work and you completely know what your why is, like sometimes we make decisions and you're like, this decision, I think it just kind of feels right. I'm not really certain, but my gut's kind of telling me that maybe this is the right decision. Or we're so conflicted and we can't make a decision. You know what your why does? Your why helps make the decisions clear. Like someone who struggles in making decisions, and for some of you who will not make a clear, irrevocable decision towards your vision, it's because you don't know what's most important to you right now. And you won't claim that thing is your possession. You've got to possess vision. You can't just possess actions. You can't just possess goals. You have to possess the picture of the way it all plays out. Because here's the other thing. My goals can change. My actions can change. You know what? My goals and my actions serve my vision. And there might be 100 different ways to actually get there. You know what? Goals do change. Plans do change. Actions do change. Tactics change all the time. That's not what's most important to me. What's most important to me is that I know what that picture looks like because my values have influenced it, and it's really clear what's most important. And you know what? I don't have to suffer over a job that I quit. I don't have to suffer over a career that I invested 10 years of learning and 10 years of work in. I don't suffer over those things. I remember the first time that I was up against this is when I was in college. I got into a prestigious medical program as I think I was maybe 19 years old, maybe 20. Now, here's the thing: is that they didn't let people in that age group get into that program for a few different reasons. One is because they wanted to see maturity. One is that you really wanted to have a momentum of education and get things under your belt. There are all these different reasons, but I'm the only kid that they ended up letting into the thing. And after I worked, and I had the grades, I was doing everything. I had the clinical stuff going. I was working in hospitals. And you know what I learned when I started working in the hospital? Because there were certain things, there were certain comparisons to individuals in my family, because there's people in my family who are in the medical field. There were certain individuals that I really looked up to, that I aspired to be like. And there were all these different things. And granted, there was the money thing and there was the prestige and all this other stuff. But after I started working in the hospital, I was like, I hate working with sick people. Like, I hate it. I hate everything about all of this stuff, except for the prestige and being smart in the classroom and everything else. I grew increasingly like, I really don't like this. Now, I didn't have 10 years in the thing, but I did have a couple of years where I went, where I studied and I did a lot of different things. And obviously, there's these classes that will not transfer to do anything for me because they were completely into biological sciences and anatomy and physiology and all of this other stuff. I'd literally been treating patients at this point in my clinical work. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I had to go and look people in the eyes who believed in me and disappoint them. I had to look at certain family members in the eyes and said, I've made all of this financial investment. I know you believed in me. I've got all this momentum, but I can't do this. And I altered my degree entirely. And you know what? It actually took me a lot longer to graduate from school. Matter of fact, I had to take a year off from school and make some money and all this other stuff. I went on the long track around this. And you know what I would say? It was all completely worth it. And it's not the first time that I've done it. I've done it with careers a couple of times. I've done it after being married and having children. You know what? Me and my wife did it when I wasn't really making that much money. I was making about $32,000 a year. And my wife says, I feel like right now in this season, because I haven't been, we're about to have this child. I feel like our greatest value is for me to be with her. And you know what? We didn't take much time on the decision. You know what? Quit this job. I don't know how we're going to make it on $32,000 a year. and 2 kids and all of this other stuff that's going on. But we made that decision. I made that decision again with a major career change coming into coaching. I'm just telling you that at a certain point, you have to understand is that when your values guide you, when vision guides you, it leads you to changing actions and changing goals. What you can see is a track record of, hey, for 20 plus years, I can see how I've been helping people and showing up in their life and doing certain kinds of things. At the end of it, after all these years, I can see convergence in my life and I can say, yeah, and I've always been doing this, and this has always been aligned with my purpose. And for a while there, that wasn't. And we made bold decisions, sometimes costly decisions, at least in the short term, to make things happen. But this is what vision does. Vision is, when you're vision led, is choosing not to be fear led. It's choosing not to be security led by whatever your finances or your bank account is saying. We at one time we downgraded all the way into a barely 700 square foot cottage with 1 bathroom. And we had 1 vehicle that didn't really run that well. We downgraded as much as we possibly could because there were certain things that we saw in our life that we were here to do, and it was worth the risk. Yes, it was really hard. Worn out jeans. You should have seen the way that I looked when I was first starting my coaching career. I got a scooter so that we had a second vehicle, and I would drive to meet high-end clients at coffee shops with 1 pair of dress pants and 2 dress shirts that I would alternate. One was blue and one was white. And what I counted on is that people would kind of look at me like attorneys seem to wear the same thing every day. That's what I kind of hope, that no one would notice that I'm always wearing the same outfits. And it was worth it. We're here today talking because of the sacrifices that knowing what most important is leads you to. And my wife and I are not done with sacrifices. We're always living on the edge of being a little bit unsettled. You know why? Because we understand that settling may be the worst thing when it comes to actually living into our purpose. There are certain things that I would say right now are stable for my family and put in order for my kids if something happened to me. But I would say outside of those things right there, there's a certain degree of unsettledness in our life right now that if we needed to move to Africa tomorrow, we would go and do it, because we understand that the calling and purpose on our life, it has to submit to security and fears and personality types and all those things. So as we're leaving, let me give you just some tips on how do you actually find your why. Here's the first thing. First of all, do a values assessment. If you have not done a values assessment at this stage in your life, you really need to. Because what you have to understand is that your why is actually connected to the part of your brain that controls emotions, but it doesn't control language. So that when you feel something, you know that you are onto something. What am I even saying in all this? Well, here's one way that you can do it. There's a lot of different ways. I would not recommend taking an online assessment that says values, because they're all terrible. What I would say is, like, there's this tool called the 1 Core Values, but there's a lot of them. You can find a word bank with all of these things. Like, you'll see all these words in it: travel, nature. I'm just letting them drop. Fairness, justice. There's all these different things that it might say. You really only live your life out of 4 primary whys or core values in your life. When you know what those things are, it really simplifies and makes your decisions easy and aligns your life, because what you understand is this part of your brain that helps you understand what your why is not the language portion of your brain. It's part of this like limbic system or whatever. And basically it's a lot of feeling. Because what I would say is that if fairness is a value of yours, if it's part of your why, fairness feels like something. Like for me, achievement is one of my primaries. What is it about achievement? How do I know that that's my value? I actually seek achievement, and I have in my life for many, many years. But achievement actually feels like something. Like it's a certain state of being that all of us are actually pursuing in our life. I don't want achievement because I want to achieve things. I want achievement because it feels like something. For those of you who want security in your life, you don't really want security. You want security because it feels like something. You don't even want money. You want money because of what it gives you that is part of the value. Maybe it's security. Maybe it's something with your family. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's attached to achievement. Finances were never attached to achievement for me. I found those in different kinds of ways. So we can differ on those different things. What I'm saying is that when you can connect it into your emotions, that is a really great way to actually understand this thing. Because anything you want in your life is actually attached to a feeling. There's a state of being that you'll always feel. Now, here's another thing that I'll say. When you look at any part of your life, this is another way that you can find your why. When you look at any part of your life and you think of a picture of what it could look like, fully beautiful, fully manifested, why does it need to look like that? When you can think of that picture, you can probably connect a why with it. Why does it have to look like this with your family? Why does it have to look like this with your spouse? Why does it have to look like something with your career? All of those kinds of things. What does it feel like? What does it feel like to achieve that? To completely live into that? What does it feel like to never live into that? To know that you would never live into that? You know what those feelings are going to tell you? It's going to help you strike a nerve with what is most important. It's going to help you strike a nerve with the why. Here's the last thing that I'll give you. Is that one thing that you can do is that you can find a good friend or a person that you work with, somebody who can think about the times when you are at your best. And sometimes what you can do with these people, and every now and then it can be a close friend or a family member, but what you really want is that you want somebody who can give you a metaphor for, I'll give you an example, and this is what I'll close with. In my life, what I would say my adult life, which I really did not, I really don't feel like began until I got married. Like whatever was happening, there was something adultish that happened when I got married, and I don't know what that was exactly. Besides the fact that I wasn't living selfishly anymore, but I feel like my adult life did not begin until I got married. And then after I got married, my wife and I did life, and we've moved, and we've had accomplishments and different kinds of things that have happened. But if I look back, it's not really been hard for me to figure out what my why is. But one of the things that has helped me over the years is friends and different people who I've met through the years who can tell me what kind of an impact I have on their life. What do they think about when they think of me? In many cases, people think in pictures. Like if you ask somebody, they probably couldn't really put it into a definition or a sentence, but they might be able to think of it in a picture. That's why I say a metaphor. Hey, if you think of me, what picture do you think of me? And come up with 3 different pictures about me. And you know what they're going to do? They're usually going to embody some things about you. If I go back and I'll capture a lot of these things. I've literally recorded people who started saying something encouraging to me, and I said, "Wait a minute, let me get my phone. I want to record this because I want to remember it." And I have all of these through the years, and I could share with you. I could play the audio of you for you right now, where people said, Paul, when I see you, I see like a catapult. And it's like you catapult people into what they were made for. I know that's what you did for me. Another person said, I see you like a slingshot. Interesting how the metaphors are the same. See, like a slingshot that you shoot people into stuff. Another person who just a couple of months ago, she was a young 20-something. She says, every time I look at you, you know what? The picture I get is like, it's like you're building a wall, but all of these stones are different sizes, and you help people find out exactly where they're supposed to be based on their fit. And I'm like, that's beautiful. Like some of my first training was all around those kinds of things. And what did I learn from these pictures that people would give me? It was really connecting me with the vision, with the purpose, and my why every time. It resonated. Because when people say, this is how you know that you're getting on the why, is when they say something and the hair stands up on your arms and you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize I had that kind of an impact. Wow, I didn't realize that was that important to that person. And you know what you'll end up finding is that when they talk about who you are as a friend, who you are as a mom, who you are as a worker and everything else, you know what you'll end up tracing it to? You can probably get your values assessment, and you can probably find the word that was most important, that you know what, you are fully starting to live into that value because people are noticing it in you. When you get what those 4 or 5 core values, which can be defined in a lot of different ways, now we can start applying it to the vision. And you know what we start doing? We start setting goals and we start setting activities based on due north in our life, because it's really given detail to what that picture looks like. The picture of what it looks like and how living into it really makes sense. For those of you who have not gotten trained and certified as a coach, sorry to switch it really quick. That's going to be part of your why. That's going to be part of you actually fulfilling your vision, is to get out of procrastination and to actually take action, because this is where we want to go. Take action. Some of you have not taken action yet. Here's the best offer, and why I'm showing you the Jumpstart program is it's by far the best offer that we have. You could get trained and certified as a coach and get your certificate, and then you don't even know what your steps are to start your business, to get clients, or any of those other things. That's why I'm trying to throw everything at you in this one thing, because you know that most programs that you guys are looking at cost thousands of dollars, and all they give you is a certificate and a big hearty wave from the door. Bye, good luck, go crush it. But here's what I'm going to tell you: the certificate is just a vehicle. What we want to give you is that we want to give you the vehicle, we want to fuel it up, and we want to give you navigation, and we want to give you a caravan to go on the road with you as you start. It's about the best metaphor that I can give you in this. And this is what this includes. The Jumpstart program includes life coach training, it includes life coach certification, and an A to Z business development roadmap that shows you how to build your coaching practice from idea to launch. And here's some of the things that it includes. One of the things that it includes is our next boot camp, which is March 22nd through the 24th. Now, we usually this program alone, boot camp, is worth $3,500. We usually charge $247 for it. You will get this included when you enroll in our Jumpstart program. Boot camp allows you to knock out all of your certification training in a single weekend. So our next one is going to be March 22nd through the 24th. What are we going to be doing? Well, we're going to be walking you through 7 powerful weekend sessions. They are the same sessions that are available in our self-paced program. Foundations of coaching, the anatomy of a dynamic coaching session, how to help your clients achieve extraordinary results, how to listen on a transformational level, how to ask powerful questions, how to establish a growing coaching practice with live coaching demos and live Q&As. And what is included? Well, in that live Q&As, role-playing, coaching tools, we give you a coaching tool starter pack. We also give you templates and a welcome pack for any of your new clients. It's all brandable, so you can go in and edit it inside of Canva. Obviously, you earn your life coach certification. You get your certificate. You get HD replays, handouts, and see, that pricing is normally $247, but you can get all of that inside of the Jumpstart program. Jumpstart also includes 6 other courses. The life coach certification course, which allows you to come in on Tuesday nights and have optional live Tuesday training. Our self-paced program that you can go through the modules on your own schedule. You also get the coaching product launch blueprint, where we show you how to create coaching products, and we show you how to design anything from any kind of a coaching program, online course, retreat, webinar, whatever, any kind of a coaching product or anything under the coaching umbrella. We show you how to do those things from all the way, and we walk you through idea to launch. We also have brand camp. We show you and give you 13 hours of training in branding. So we show you how to write emails, how to write sales pages, how to write copy that helps that people go on your website, and how do you create a high converting website? How do you write emails that people will actually see the subject line and they will open them up? How do you optimize your website for search engines? We show you all of those things. Honestly, the Jumpstart program is worth thousands of dollars per month. You can get it for $97 a month. We're trying to make it as easy of a decision as possible for you. And this is Starbucks. It's $3.25 a day with a 3-month minimum commitment. I know you guys have been looking at other programs that cost thousands of dollars. and this is your ticket. This way, you're not starting out in debt. You get the same value, and you get support because we're going to walk alongside you. Because what I didn't mention is that Wednesdays we have a group coaching call. So all the coaches who are part of our Jumpstart program are invited to a Wednesday call that is live. So if you're keeping up, Jumpstart includes Tuesday, live Tuesday training that is optional. Wednesday, live group call for the coaches who are part of Jumpstart. So you can get feedback on anything that you're working on. You can get support. You don't have to do this thing alone. That's what the caravan is for, to help you get to your destination. Boot camp, which is our 3-day certification weekend. Brand camp, as well as the coaching product launch blueprint. All of these things that are included, only $97 a month with a 3-month minimum commitment. Let's see. I'm going to look at a couple of these things. Mia says you won't regret it. Get certified. Thank you, Mia. Appreciate that. Gerlinda from the East Coast. Good to see you. Virginia's in the house. Amber from Alaska is in the house. Good to see all of you. Want to make sure that I'm saying hello to you. If you guys would do it, hit that like button and share that. That would be great. I see one of the comments from Dan. From a spiritual perspective, finding your why is a process of discernment, discovering why God has given me certain gifts and abilities, and knowing that when I use them, I'm my best self. I love that. Appreciate that contribution. Well, cool. Well, listen, I appreciate you guys all immensely. That link to get enrolled is inside of the description of this video. We would love to take this journey with you. We'll be back next week with the next chapter of the next chapter of the Vision-Led Coach. Listen, I appreciate you guys all immensely. Have a great rest of your week and take care. Being intentional in your life about knowing the picture of what could be, what should be, but what must be. Because it's one thing to have a dream in your heart. And I think a lot of us have dreams in our heart. Does not mean that we're truly living into what we think life should really be, that we are making intentional steps and actually having intentional, real progress towards those things. Having a vision is really having a clear picture that produces passion in us in any area of life that we choose. Now, I know that there's more than one area of your life. Obviously, we're talking about career and achievement, and we're talking about purpose and those kinds of things. Those are really important parts that, as we're talking about our coaching career and everything else. And of course, vision can be applied to that, but it can be applied to your relationships. It can be applied to your family, your income, anything that is important to you. You really want to have a picture for it, because as we've said before, some people, everybody ends up somewhere. Some people get there on purpose. Vision is about having a purpose and knowing what that picture looks like, because if our life right now is not how we pictured it to be, then we have a choice in our life at this point, regardless of how old you are. No matter how young, no matter how old, at any point we can think about that picture of life, and we can actually make drastic steps, massive steps towards those things. And last week we were talking specifically about dialing into what's most important, because what's happening in us influences the kinds of change that we want to see, because internal change has to happen before we see external change. And I'm going to stay on that vein, because really what we're talking about this week is that if you change your program, you change your life. What do I mean by a program? Well, what I mean by a program, or you can use the word paradigm, is really when we look at our life, that there is a totality of how we think things are going to go, how we expect things to go. And they're really a combination of a number of different things. And what I'll do really quickly is I'm going to try to whiteboard a few of those so that you can see what I'm really talking about here. Is that in our life, as we're looking at our lives, and let's say that this is you in the present. Well, when you got here in the present, there were some things that were actually taking place. If you think of a program, and I'll write the word program on here. It's kind of big, huh? Let me see if I can make this a little bit smaller. So if we have a program that's running, really what we're talking about is that we're talking about beliefs. We're talking about perceptions. We're talking about our past experiences, really. We're also talking about our daily habits. All of those things fit in here. How we go about our life, the habits that we have. Also, our habit of trying to avoid pain, because that's what we spend a lot of our time doing in our life, is avoiding what we find painful. But we can also think about this as essentially how we believe things work. And I could kind of give you a couple of ways that we can describe that. What I think is possible for me. What I think I can do. What I don't think that I can do. That's another way that we can say it. Also, going back to pain, how much pain am I willing to tolerate? Because the reality is that there's pain for not having what you want in your life, but a lot of times people are willing to tolerate it. And here's another one. Here's a big one. How powerless I feel. Because you know what? If you don't really believe that you can control your life, if you feel like whatever is going on in your life, you don't really have control over it, you can't really come into the kind of life that you really want, that vision, you know what? That's going to keep you from being able to actually move forward in your life. All of these things, and we could probably say that there are more. There's definitely better ways of actually defining it and more clear ways, but I'm going to stop right there. This is what we're really talking about. Is that every one of us who are sitting here today have a program that's functioning in our life. Matter of fact, we have multiple programs in our life. And here's what I'll say about programs, because I think that people kind of misunderstand how change actually happens, because what I'm going to assume is that the vision that you have for your life requires change, that you want to see something different around in and around you than what you presently see. But there's some wrong assumptions that people have about getting that change. And here's what I mean by that. Like, some people believe that they can actually achieve that vision. They can get exponential change in their life by just growing in knowledge. That some people think, well, you know what, if I grow in knowledge, if I get some more training, even if I accomplish something, there's a lot of people who really believe that that's going to bring about change in their life and it's going to help them accomplish their vision. Well, here's what I'll say about that, because that's a wrong assumption. That's a false assumption, because really that's true with career change when you're learning a new skill. Because sometimes when you learn a new skill or you gain knowledge, you go to college or you go to a trade school or whatever it is that when you do a career change, the assumption is if I go out and I get more knowledge and I acquire new skills, then I achieve a new value. I up my value. So that means that I'll get paid more. Now, getting paid more might be some portion of your vision, but how many of you know that you can accomplish something that you can, like, how many of us have accomplished like some kind of training or learning, or maybe we went to school, or maybe went and got a degree, but it didn't really do inside of us and give us confidence in our life that we could actually live into what, like, we're smarter technically, and we have, but there's something inside of us that was still telling us that We could never be as successful as someone else. Like, how many of us went to school with people who are not as smart as us, or as not in, and I'm not, it's okay to say that. Like, there's people that you know that you're smarter than, right? That you went to school with. There's people that you know that you are smarter than, that you are more talented than, but they seem to have lived into a fuller vision of what actually you wanted in your life. How many of us know that that's true? What is it? Is it in spite of the knowledge, training, accomplishment, even the accomplishment does not change the program that's going in us. And here's what I will say about that program that's functioning in you. It's predictable, because where you will be in life is because you have already plotted a course. Your program has, and there won't be a big deviation for the rest of your life. You know why? Because you can't outperform your program, and you cannot go further than the program in you. Let me see if I can give you another little picture of it. Let me get my picture of my guy again. See, because where you are in the present right now, like, this is you in the present. This is you in the present. But we have to understand that what we have here is that we really have a timeline. And if I looked at the timeline, and let's say that this is the future and this is the present, well, honestly, to get to the present, we all understand that to get to the present where you are right now, that there was a timeline of things that got you there. And do you know what got you there? What got you there is the program that's running in you right now. Your program, it's very predictable what your future will be like. You know, if your program stays the same, your program is going to get you the same results, because that's what it's actually designed to do. When I say it's predictable, I'm not trying to be offensive in it. A program's supposed to be predictable. You know what a program does? It gets you the same result and the same expectations every time. Like, if we were working on, like, if you were opening every day, let's say that your word processing program, that sounds funny, word processing program. If you open up Microsoft Word, or for you Mac people, WordPerfect or whatever you use, but if you're using Microsoft Word and you opened it up one day and it looked like Excel, and you couldn't format any of this stuff, and you couldn't write sentences, and you couldn't write a letter, I think that you would be frustrated, and you would, at least, at the very least, you would be surprised that this is not what this program does, and it's not supposed to. Program gets you the same results. You know what it does? A program keeps you safe because it's predictable. You know what your program's doing? Your program's keeping you out of pain. Your program's keeping you in survival mode. Your program's keeping you away from any threats. That's why when we look at this thing of what our daily habits are, avoiding pain, all of this other stuff, your programs are wired so that you are not surprised in your everyday life. And that's a good thing. That's an assuring thing. It's actually the very thing that's keeping you where you are right now. Because here's what I will show you. In your life, let's say that you are age 0 here. And then I can go over here and maybe say age 18. And then maybe I can say age whatever, 20 something, whatever. And you got your college degree. Here's what happened with regard to your program and maybe the vision over your life, is that there is a certain amount of learning that happens in your life that maybe your high school and maybe your college or whatever, or your vocational school got you to a certain level in your career towards your vision, right? But the reality is that this program that you have in you actually started getting wired back here. Garbage in, garbage out. You didn't really filter much. And you know what you learned from past experiences? You formed beliefs, you formed habits and everything else. And here's what's true, is that for most people, there's really not, and I would say probably to about right here, and this usually has to do with career, making money and everything else, there's not anything drastic that happens at a certain point. Like, here's what I can say is predictable. Probably, if you're like most people, no matter what age you are in the present or anything else, no matter the fact that unless you've gotten extravagant training and you've made a big career change, your money probably hasn't changed a whole lot over the last 10 to 20 years. Probably not quadrupled in income, right? probably not doubled in income. That's just one aspect. But if you looked at anything in your life, not that we're not getting better and not that we're not improving and not that we are not growing, because we are, but what I'm talking about is exponential. Like, really, what we're talking about is that if I tracked back to zero, like from when I was really little, for most people, their present really isn't that much higher. It almost looks a little bit plateauish. It's some modest increases, but we're not seeing the drastic stuff, which, if this is my vision, if this is the ultimate of what I want in my life, most of us have to agree that that picture's pretty far away. And here's one thing that I will tell you is that your program got you this far. And unless you change your program, you're not going to get what you actually want in your life, because your program is designed to keep you where you are right now. You might be able to get some knowledge and some training and possibly change career. Like, I think for all of us, for the most part, if we went and got trained and now suddenly we're all doctors or something, that would probably change our income. That would probably change some other kinds of things around our life for the most part, right? But it doesn't mean that it's actually getting you towards your vision in your career, in your purpose, in the things that you want for your family and your relationships, all those other things. You know what that's going to require? It's going to require a difference in the way that you perceive people. If you want a relationship to change, you're going to have to think differently. You're going to have to see pain in your life a little bit differently. You're going to have to stop avoiding some of the hard conversations that you need to have with your spouse. That's going to require a different program, because I avoid the hard conversations because I don't want the pain and the baggage that goes with it. So I'm going to tolerate a life that I don't really want, that does not look like my vision, because my program is telling me, no, that would be too painful. That would be too difficult. That would be too hard. So we have to understand that there's these things that are functioning in us, that where we say, well, here's what I think is possible in my life. Here's what I think that I can do. Here's what I don't think that I can do. Here's how much pain I'm willing to tolerate. And here's a lot of us act like we're powerless and nothing can happen, when the truth is that if you think differently, if you truly have a different program functioning in you, you can then you can say yes to anything that you want. Here's an example of that. A few days ago, we have this area of town that we know that there's a lot of drug activity that happens around it. It's this place, and it's kind of in the woods, and there's always I'll see nice cars that are out there, and then I'll also see homeless people. And so it's kind of weird. It's like, what is this place? But we know that there's a lot of illegal activity that goes down there, and sometimes you'll see cops over there and everything else. Well, I'm driving through there, but I would still say that for the vast majority of people that I see over there, they have a certain look about them and everything else. And you can kind of like, I know what those people are about. You know, they're got nefarious activities going on and stuff like that. Well, the other day when I was driving past there, I see this young girl. And I can say young girl because I'm old. I'm almost 50 years old. All right. So when I say young girl, she's probably like 20 years old. She's probably around the ages, one of the ages of my daughter, one of my older daughters. And when I saw her, the thing is that she stood out, that she did not look like she belonged there at all. And I was like, man, what is going on that this girl's finding herself in this? And then I've started to see her a couple of other times when I've driven around there. And I can tell that she's got things going on in her life, because she is also scratching her body as though she's, for those of you who don't know the signs of things, I used to live in a community in San Diego where there would be a lot of people walking around that kind of look like that, where they were tweaking and they would be scratching themselves and some of those other things. And so I knew some of those signs to look for. And my guess was, my assumption and what I was seeing is that this girl's probably prostituting herself down there to get free drugs or get money or whatever. Now, I'm driving past there. It's heartbreaking to me. Drive past there with my 18-year-old daughter. And I was like, do you see that? I was like, you see that girl right there? And I'm looking at her. I'm like, this girl can't be much older than my own daughter. And I was like, she doesn't fit in that picture at all, does she? But she believes that she fits in that picture and that she doesn't have any options. And now she's selling her body for drugs or money or whatever. And my daughter's sitting there. That's so sad that anyone would feel that terrible about themselves that they would give themselves away and throw themselves at it. Now, there's some people who would be like, oh, by the grace of God, that could be me, but I'm over here. No, that's not actually true at all. Now, I believe in God and I believe in God's grace. Don't get me wrong about that. But the reality is that what we're talking about is the program that runs someone. Because if I went down there with my daughter and she looked at her and my daughter locks eyes with her and my daughter says to her, listen, you don't have to do this. You don't have to make this choice. Listen, you could go get a job. She could tell her a bunch of different things. And you know what she would be telling her? She would be telling her the truth, because the truth is really powerful, isn't it? But do you know what's more powerful than truth? Is belief. It's the program that's running you. Because my daughter locks eyes with this girl and she looks at her and she says, this could never be my life. I would never feel this way about my life. And this girl looks at my daughter and she says in her heart, that could never be my life. I could never see myself as that. Do you understand that the paradigm, the program that's running there is determining, it is already determined what's getting ready to happen. And unless there's something drastically that shifts, it's great to have this in your heart and to say, here's what the picture of my life would look like. But unless you actually change the program, you will never come into what you really want in your life, which is this right here. Let me give you a couple of more slides on this. I hope this is encouraging you, and that wasn't such a bummer or a buzzkill of an example. See, we got to change our wrong assumptions on getting exponential change, because if you can act from a different program, you can get different results than what you're getting right now. Because every one of you have to understand, if there's any limitations in your life, you have to understand that every question you currently have comes from your old program that you've had wired in you since you were a baby. You have to understand that every limitation that you have in your life right now is coming from a program that has been fed you since you were a little child. You have to also understand that every disqualifier, every question, every thought that you believe that this is not possible for my life, where does it come from? It comes from an old program that has been running since you were really young. Everything, every question that you have in your mind, every doubt that you have in your life, every time you get stuck and you feel like you can't move forward, the program is running. It's always running. Anything that makes you stop, anything that makes you doubt, anything that keeps you exactly where you are, if you haven't seen drastic progress, for some of you who have already gotten trained and certified and you haven't gotten traction, there's a program running, I'm telling you. For some of you who have been flirting around becoming a coach, you've Googled it more than 1 or 2 times, and you've been looking into it, there's a program running. It's not about money. It's never about that. There's a doubt in your heart that you can do this. There's a doubt. There's something in you that believes that it's possible for Paul, but it's not possible for me. You know what that is? It's a program. If you believe that you don't have power in your life to change this thing, it's a program. And I'm telling you, if you confront the program, if you change the program, you can change your life. So how do we begin to do that? Well, I'm going to give you a few tips on how you actually begin to change the program. First of all, is always getting a crystal clear vision. If you do not know the picture that you want in your life, then you can't keep your choices clear. I said this in week 1. A clear picture of what you want helps you really get momentum in your life, and it helps you say no to some of the things that you've got to begin saying no. You've got to get detailed about what that actually looks like. Here's the next thing that you're going to begin to ask, is that you've got to ask, what program is required for me to achieve my vision? Let me go back to my picture over here, because I want you to understand this. If it wasn't clear a while ago, see, right now, with this present program in mind, present program is also where your future is going to be. Because I want you to understand that there are thoughts and there are actions that are linked to this thing. And so what'll end up happening is that I'll keep having the same program. Shouldn't be surprised. You know what a program is like? See that little thing? It's GPS. Wouldn't you be surprised if you typed in Walmart on your Google Maps on your phone and it brought you to Target, unless they were in the same parking lot? Wouldn't you be surprised if you typed in a grocery store, your local grocery store, Trader Joe's or whatever, and it brought you to Petco? Wouldn't you be a little bit surprised? Wouldn't you be a little bit frustrated? But because GPS is supposed to get you what you want, right? And so we shouldn't be surprised that if we have a program, the GPS program's a GPS. It's going to give you what you want. And so if we have these directions, if we have this system in place, you can't expect that you're ever going to be, except maybe a little bit better, maybe a little bit worse, but we're not going to be this. So what that really means is that up here is that there is a program that looks like this vision. It means, what must I believe about my present condition, about myself? I have to ask these questions. What must I believe right now for this vision to come in place? What should my perceptions be to live into this vision? What do my habits have to become to be this? I don't think that it takes a lot to figure this out. What kinds of pain? How do I need to see pain? What am I avoiding? What am I tolerating in my life that I can never tolerate again? What about possibilities? What kind of possibilities do I need to begin to see in my life? What do I need to know about being victim or responsible? What do you mean by that, Paul? I mean that you've got to drop victim mentality in any area. You're not powerless, you're powerful. See, all of these things that we have to actually believe that we can. How can I? These are the different kinds of questions that you have to ask. And we have to take on that paradigm, which means both things. It means if thoughts and actions gets us what we want right now, then it means that up here, new thoughts, new action has to align with the vision. Last week, I talked about the fact that you need to know what's most important in your life and allow that to lead you, because that ends up aligning you. But here's the other thing, is that if your beliefs, your perception, your habits in your life are not in alignment with your vision, you're toast already before you ever began. Listen, I don't have to wait until I've checked off all the boxes to start believing like this person. I mean, let's think about it. Like, whatever is hard for you right now, like, here's an example. Tony Robbins. We'll just throw somebody like that out there. Not that you like him or whatever, but we can say that he's been successful in the transformational part of the world, right? In that niche. If Tony Robbins, graduated from Life Coach Training Institute, do you think that he would be a success? I think that we would all agree, yeah, he's going to be successful. How do we know? Because he's walking around with a certificate from us? I don't think so, because I already told you earlier that accomplishment and knowledge isn't really going to help you that much. What we do know that about Tony Robbins is that he probably believes something about himself differently. He probably has a different perception of the world than we do. He's looking at the world through different lenses. He probably has different habits. He's probably not afraid of some of the things that we're afraid of. He's probably not tolerating things that we're tolerating in our life. He probably doesn't see himself as a victim. He's probably not questioning whether things are in the realm of possibility. Some of you think, well, once stuff starts happening, then I can believe that it's possible. And I'm telling you that that's bullcrap, because the program gets you what you want. And right now you have what you want, what you don't want, because there's a program that's actually running. This is how we begin to change it. Is that if it's possible for Tony Robbins to be successful, maybe one of the easy things that you could say is, I need to start thinking like some of the people think, start believing about myself and about my life and about the world like some of these other people who are successful in certain areas that we really want to be. If you're not able to picture it for yourself, you can probably say, this person probably has different habits than me. This person's probably not spending 3 hours on Instagram every day. Like if that's what I'm doing. unless we're actually building a business around it. But we have to understand is that they actually have different habits, they have different ways of thinking, and they have different ways of relating and everything else. So if we want to change the program, first of all, get a crystal clear vision and start asking what program is required for me to achieve my vision. You can also ask, what are the biggest programs that threaten my vision? Because there's some things that you believe right now and you have functioning and habits in you that are much more crippling than other ones. You know what? If you go after those first, then you're going to get the most success. Listen, I understand if you have 50 things that you don't like about yourself, you have 50 frustrating things, you have 50 bad habits. Well, listen, 50 bad habits are 50 bad habits. There's probably one or two of them that are crippling you a lot more than other things. Like if you bite your nails, that's probably a nasty habit. It's probably not keeping you from success. Unless you're trying to be a nail model, that's a possibility. But for the most part, there's certain habits that aren't affecting us nearly as much. But you might have a really nasty habit of not putting yourself out there. You might have yourself a nasty habit of not being consistent in your life and what you know that you're supposed to do, and you're avoiding the hard stuff, or you're avoiding failure or whatever. You need to know what those programs are that are actually affecting your vision the most. Here's another thing, is that you need to begin right now to remember and practice the moments where you know you had what you needed to be successful. What do I mean by that? I mean that right now there's probably a part in your life, because what we're really good at is reliving our worst moments and thinking the worst about us. I want you to start remembering and relive the best moments, the aspects of you that show you that you can absolutely do whatever it is, that picture of the future. You've probably lived into it. You've probably been that person who could sustain that and do that. Relive those. Give yourself permission, and only permission, to look at yourself in the best light, giving yourself the most benefit of the doubt, giving yourself the perspective of like, hey, before this happened to me, this is who I really was. I can embrace that. Here's the other thing that I would say, is that you need to begin to use repetition, emotion, and movement. What do I mean by that? What we have to understand is that the program didn't just start yesterday. The program that you have functioning in you happened because of repetition of things that you told yourself, things that were told to you, things that you cycled through and you kept doing. Usually the mistakes that we make, we usually keep making them. Some of the limitations that we have, there's certain things that I confront now in my life that I wouldn't confront for a really long time. I really struggled. We lost everything. In 2008, we lost everything. And you know what I did? I didn't even have the strength to answer the phone, because I knew the call was going to be somebody saying, "Where's our money? You're late on this," or whatever. We lost everything. I didn't even have the strength to pick up the phone. It was like, man, if I can just change my phone number or something like that, like I'm not even going to answer the phone. Like I can't deal with it. Yesterday, I had bad news come in the mail. Whenever you see the IRS and doesn't look like a check through that window, you know it's probably bad news. And it was bad news. And you know why I had bad news yesterday? I had bad news yesterday because the payroll company that I work with made some big mistakes that I discovered at a certain point at the beginning of the year when we were getting ready to file our taxes. And you know what that ended up doing? To get them to correct everything else meant that they had to correct a bunch of stuff with them. And it was also made us late. And you know what happened when we were late? Fines. That's what happens when you're late. And you know what? I looked at that thing and I'm like, you know what? I believe there's two things that happened. One is I was ready to confront it. One way that I might have confronted it that I started confronting things is like, you know what? I'm going to get on this, as painful as it is. I'm just going to get on here, pay this bill, and not worry about it. That was one side of me. I was ready to confront it. But one thing that I looked at, I was like, you know what? Most people believe that these people completely suck and they just want our money and they don't care about people. But I'm going to believe something different. I'm going to believe that I can call this 800 number and I'm going to get a human and I'm just going to tell them what happened. And you know what? If the hammer falls, well, the hammer's already fallen, right? Can it get any worse? So you know what I did? It was literally earlier today. Put that call in, 800 number, phone, the answering thing comes on, says that I'm gonna have to wait for 30 or 40 minutes. Well, you know what I did is I just drove around. I had errands to run. That phone just stayed on there, just on hold forever. Finally, a guy gets on there, and I'm like, I didn't even have my number in front of me. I was like, hey, can you give me a second? And I just tell him what's been going on. Like, hey, here's what's happened, and he's like, well, let me just see what we can. He didn't say what we can do for you. Let me see what is available for you. Like as though he needed to prove of something. One thing is for sure is that our records are impeccable. The taxes are paid, all of that other stuff. It's just that this thing ended up being late and everything else. And it was really out of my control. So I had to sit for about another 10 minutes on hold while he was on there. And you know what? I'm totally at peace because I believed that something good could possibly happen. And you know what happened? Gets on the phone and they completely get rid of every fine that we were experiencing. Now, that's probably almost a miracle story. But you know what? The Paul Dabdu 10 years ago would not have even probably made that call. Probably would have been like, you know what? I'm powerless. I can't do anything. And these are evil people and all this. But you know what? The paradigm, the program in me has shifted. I'm ready to confront it. And I have a belief in humanity. And you know what? I was also open for the fact that he could probably tell me, you know what, I'm sorry, you know what the deadlines are and we can't do anything for you. And you know what? I was willing to concede that point, but I was at least willing to put myself out there and say, let's see what happens. 30-minute phone call saves a ton of money on the other end. And it was all because the program changed in me before something happens. Listen, like I said earlier, is that truth is an amazing thing. It can break you into reality that there are no limits on you. And I can tell you that truthfully, there's no limits on you. You know people with fewer limbs than you, with less eyesight than you, with worse hair than you, with worse stories than you, that are also living a greater vision and impact than you are. You know why that is? It's not because they got lucky one day. It's because of what program was actually running them. And we have to choose because truth can break you open, but it submits to belief every time. If you can change your program, you change your life. And these are some of the ways that we begin to do that. If I can start using repetition and emotion and movement in my life every day to say, you know what? What do I need to believe? Now I'm going to start thinking that way and I'm going to start acting. I'm going to think and I'm going to choose differently until it becomes a new habit, until I start reinforcing the way that I know that I need to think. Because what's truer? What I've experienced up to now or what I could experience in the future? What's truer? What's true of your life right now or what's true of Tony Robbins' life or any other fill in the blank person that you think is successful? There's nothing more true about them than there is about you. So we can make that our reality anytime that we want. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for bearing with all of our technical difficulties over here and everything else, but we finally got it here at the end. Let me do this to pay the bills really quickly. If you have not gotten trained and certified as a coach, the best thing that I could offer is our Jumpstart program. Jumpstart is is a cross between, I just say cross, it's two programs in one. You can get trained and certified as a coach through either our life coach certification course or through next weekend's boot camp, which is March 22nd through the 24th. Both of those programs are actually included in Jumpstart, which is $97 a month with a 3-month minimum commitment. Let me talk about what is included inside of Jumpstart. For one, next weekend, March 22nd through the 24th, is our 3-day accelerated certification program. What we do is we start on Friday night with the first of 7 powerful sessions. Session 1 is the foundations of coaching. Session 2, the anatomy of a dynamic coaching session. 3, how to help your clients get extraordinary results. Sessions 4 and 5 are how to listen on a transformational level, how to ask powerful questions, and also how to establish a growing coaching practice. Every one of these sessions conclude with a live Q&A where you can ask me questions and also that you can connect with other students who are on the live with you that are attending globally. We also, throughout the weekend, have live role playing. So what you're able to do is either practice as a client or as a coach. That way you can actually experience what coaching is like on both sides. so that you can actually develop and you can grow in your competencies. Here's the other thing that that we include in that weekend: not only the live 7 sessions that include Q&As and role playing, you're also going to walk away with a lot of different coaching tools. Not only are we going to pack you up full of tools in your coaching tool belt through the weekend, but we also give you a coaching tool starter pack. It's 5 powerful tools that help you get your clients' transformation really quickly. We also include the 500 Powerful Coaching Questions ebook that I put together that show you sample questions through every stage of a coaching session. You'll also get coaching agreement and intake samples. You will also get a brandable template for all of your invoicing, for your coaching agreements, all of those other kinds of things. All of these things are included as bonuses for the weekend. Obviously, you're going to earn your life coach certification, and you're also going to get your certificate. Also included are HD replays and handouts. The cost is only $247. This is a program that's valued at $3,500. We're going to go Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and you will walk away with all of your training out of the way. You'll just knock out your assignments, and then you've earned your credential. Now, you can get this included if you want to go for Jumpstart. All of that's included for $97 a month with a 3-month minimum commitment. Jumpstart gives you an A to Z business development roadmap. Also, it gives you a mentoring call with all of the students who are part of Jumpstart. So we give you feedback on anything that you're working on. We also give you feedback on if you give us recordings of your coaching, if you have a website that you've launched, if you have a product that you've launched, anything that you need help in, we're there to support you so that you're not doing this thing alone. Also, you will get live Tuesday training. That is also an optional part. We also have included is your life coach certification course, which is self-paced. So you can set your own schedule. Through and through, we've thought of everything. We've literally answered every question that we've ever been asked in the last 10 years that we've been in business. And so we understand coaches. We understand what it takes to be successful as a coach in terms of launching your coaching practice. And also, we've helped thousands of coaches get break into the industry and become successful. The link is inside of the description. You can get enrolled in about 90 seconds, and we can do this thing together. So listen, I appreciate you guys all immensely. Again, that link is inside of the description. Thanks for all your patience tonight. I know it's been a little bit crazy and a little bit hectic that we just had to like start all over again and everything else. But those of you who came back and you were so gracious and everything else, I appreciate that so much. Listen, I appreciate you guys all immensely spending your time with us tonight. Get enrolled. March 22nd through the 24th is our live boot camp weekend. It's a great time where you get to join with people from all over the world and journey over the course of a weekend and knocking out your life coach certification. Listen, I appreciate you guys so much. Have a great rest of your week and take care.